With that out of the way, let's get started. So I'm very, very excited about a couple of special guests we have here today. Our first guest I'm particularly excited about because my day job back at Microsoft, I'm a technical evangelist by day, and this man literally wrote the book on evangelism back when he was with Apple. He's currently the managing director for Garage Ventures, and he recently launched Troomers.com, Mr. Guy Kawasaki. Thank you. And our second guest today I'm excited about because he's my boss, Steve Ballmer. So Guy, Steve, let's get started.
Are we supposed to hold that? It's like Project Runway, huh? You think? No.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Although neither one of us would really qualify, don't you think?
Speak for yourself, Steve. All right. So who would have thought that you and I would be, well, who would have thought that I would ever be at a Microsoft event? I mean.
Not me.
Yeah, right. Why didn't you hire me back in '87 or so? I'd own the San Jose Sharks. You'd own the Sonics. Life would be good. I mean.
Life would be good. Life would be good.
Why didn't you hire me?
I don't know. I really don't.
I think it's racist. First of all, I can't tell you how, I get this email out of the blue saying, would you like to be the interviewer of Steve Ballmer at Mix 2008? And I really thought it was some kind of spoof. Surely somebody doesn't care about his career at Microsoft. They're inviting me to, do you realize how career limiting that could be? Lo and behold, here I am. So I'm really happy to be here. Steve never invites me, Steve Jobs, never invites me to do this at, Macworld Expo or anything. So I appreciate it.
We'll see how it goes, and I can always give you a recommendation.
Somehow coming from you, I don't think that would further it, but that's all right.
No, it would be career limiting.
Well, I'm supposed to be your shill and, ask you all these softball questions and stuff, make you look smart and the Microsoft strategy look great. So, let's just start off with, why do you want to buy Yahoo? What's the deal with that? How's that for an easy one?
I think we have worked really hard to make it clear that we have real commitment, real aspiration, and real tenacity about being a very serious player in the world of search and advertising.
All right.
Advertising on the internet is a big thing and will be the next super big thing. There's no question about that. Search, in some senses, is, let's call it, the killer application of advertising. At least today and for the foreseeable future, it is the killer application for online advertising. And despite the fact that you could say we are not where we like to be, and that we probably could have gotten a little sooner, particularly on search and search-related advertising, we are very committed. We've got a great team doing great things, driving forward really hard, and yet we got a long way to go. And Yahoo seems to be a way to accelerate that because of the critical mass that's required to really compete.
Well, what's the current status of the deal?
We've made an offer.
Yeah.
And we've made an offer. Yeah. It's out there, baby.
Just don't pick up any chairs and throw it at me, all right?
That was 20 years ago, never today.
Don't go monkey on me either, all right. So, okay, so now, inherent, we haven't said the G word yet. So, but, the Y word is all about the G word. So, do you think it's a zero-sum game? Do you have to, do Google in? What's the...
Online advertising, like I said, is a big thing that's going to be super big.
Right.
Search is a key application. And so in a sense, yeah, we have to have a strong position in online search and online advertising if we're going to be a serious player in online advertising.
Okay.
And we're very committed to that. And yeah, in a sense, it's a zero-sum game. There's 100, whatever, N searches per day. And I want a larger percentage of those searches made with our stuff and our ads being served up than we have today by quite a measure.
Yeah, and you can't even bring yourself to say the Google word, huh?
Well, you couldn't bring yourself to say it until just then. I could say Google.
Okay.
Google.
So, when you get up in the morning and you think about, who you're going to do battle with, is Google front and center? I mean, is that, you got little pictures of Larry and Sergey and you throw darts at them? Well, what's,
I'm not a good dart player.
yeah.
Chairs
at them?
Now, if you take a look, we have a broad footprint. We're trying to do 4 things in our business. We have a desktop business that's still fantastic and growing
I sense
well.
the bullshit PR answer coming, but okay.
No, a little bit. Just a little bit.
Okay.
Just a little bit. Because you have to ask, where do we really compete?
Okay.
In our desktop business today, we don't see Google.
All right.
We see Apple, we see Linux, we don't see Google. We've got a server and enterprise business. We see IBM, we see Oracle, we see Linux, Google, blip, 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 blip. If that's a PR answer, you let me know, but blip, 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 blip. But we don't
How do you spell bip, bip? No.
That's a good question. I have no clue. But in our server and enterprise business, we don't really see Google. They may have aspirations, but they're not present. We've got a real business in entertainment and devices with Xbox, with Windows Mobile. Google, again, is really not present, although they're an aspirant with YouTube, and they're certainly an aspirant with Android, but we'll see.
Okay.
And then we've got an aspiration about online. And in online, yeah, it's Google. And we're in the game, and we're just a little engine that could. We're working away. So, it may be my last breath at Microsoft, but we're going to be there, and we're going to be working away, building share.
So what you're trying to tell me is you're an underdog.
We are. We are in this particular battle. I think that's a fair thing. The other guy, depending on the country, has anywhere between 50% market share and 90% market share. So yeah, I'd say we're the underdog.
Why don't you sue them for antitrust?
You haven't learned. I do. You want governments to sue people for antitrust. That's anyway.
Okay.
It's not our deal.
And when you wake up in the morning, what do you think about Apple? Is it this little chihuahua you just kick away every time, or
All right, look, Apple does a pretty good job. I'm not going to take anything away from what Apple does.
Yeah.
We also do a pretty good job, and we're going to drive hard. Now, Apple's taken a little bit of share. We drive share. I mean, at the end of the day, of course, we have a much bigger footprint than Apple does. Certainly in the PC business, Apple's done a nice job in music players. We're again the underdog, perhaps we should say. In phones, we outsell Apple, but Apple's got a very prominent product. And I take nothing away from the fact that they're going to continue to do good work, and we're going to continue to compete with all vigor and energy.
I know that it will never leave this room, but
I believe you.
No, seriously. You'll be proud to know that I use a Motorola Q, which is running Windows Mobile 6.
Great.
So I just because we can debate about Windows as a desktop OS, but I tell you, I need Exchange Server for my phone. It works very well. So I'm just drawing that little line in the sand, because if I ever need tech support.
Right here, baby.
Yeah.
Right here.
All right, so now let's talk about your little ashtray-sized bet and partnership with Facebook. What's that about?
Well, again, I said we're real serious about online advertising. Absolutely critical. We do believe that what will happen is you'll get a few big online ad platforms that serve as engines of customer information, advertiser information, advertising insertion intelligence for many, many sites on the web. And so for us, not only having small partners, but big P partners that are advertising-oriented partners is very important. We're pleased to have that kind of a partnership with Facebook. We cemented it late last year by extending our operating agreement and buying a small piece of the company. And we're happy to be both an owner, but even more happy to be a partner.
And who negotiated the deal? Were you know, was it you against Zuckerberg, or what? How did that work? I mean,
No. Neither, actually, on the deal itself, neither one of us was involved in the specifics. Mark does tend to focus in on kind of the big picture and getting the technology right and the product essence, and does a fantastic job. I'm well known not to be the world's greatest negotiator, and there's guys who run that business for us, and on both sides, people put together a very good deal.
Well, is a few billion like that for Microsoft so below the radar that, you know, you didn't even sign the purchase order? I mean, how does it?
We didn't spend a few billion.
Oh.
Remember, we only put in a few $100 million as an investment into Facebook.
Okay, a few $100 million. I mean, so it was like in the ashtray of your Lexus, and you.
I'm a Ford guy. I was slightly offended by that. My father, who worked for Ford, would be offended. But nonetheless, putting that aside, no, I mean, look, what am I supposed to say? A few $100 million is not a small amount of money.
Yeah.
But for a company that's making $60 billion a year in revenue, it's not a huge amount of money either.
That's true. Okay, well, it's good. You know, like I said, you should have hired me. So now, you know, you've been at this game for a long time. You're arguably one of the richest people in the world. What drives you? I mean, why do you? What's?
Three things.
Yeah.
Number one, I love what we do. And I don't know what people thought about Silverlight 2, but I'm pretty jazzed up about Silverlight 2.
Okay.
Nope. IE8, we get a chance every day, all of us at Microsoft, and frankly, people in this room, to really be at the forefront of changing the world. And for me, that's exciting. Number two, I get a chance to work with, both as customers as well as the folks at Microsoft, some of the smartest, most energetic, fun folks in the world. You know, our industry is not the same as all other industries. And, you know, I think there's a lot more energy and enthusiasm and vibrance, and I love that. That's the kind of people I like to spend my time with. And number three, I enjoy challenge. And certainly with the scale and magnitude of what's going on in our industry and what we're trying to do and the guys we have to compete with, you know, I couldn't just sort of like sit at home and work on my golf game or something. I like good challenges, and we've got them.
And so, you know, you run such a humongous organization of, you know, the quantity of people, the market valuation, just everything. Can you just describe your day? I mean, what does Steve Ballmer do from in the morning to night?
There's three kinds of days I have.
Okay.
One day I'm out of Redmond, and I'm with customers, generally from someplace around 7:30 in the morning to something like, 8 at night, and then you get on a plane, fly to the next city, brief with our people for the next day, and spend another 11 hours with customers. And I get excited about that. That for me is energizing.
Is this Southwest Is this Southwest Airlines, or is this a Gulfstream?
It's not Southwest Airlines. There's no doubt it's not Southwest Airlines. It's sometimes British Air, but it is definitely not Southwest.
Okay.
Just not not from Seattle anyway.
So Microsoft didn't buy you a G3? I mean...
No, Microsoft doesn't buy people airplanes. That's that other company.
Yeah, right. The Chihuahua?
Yeah, the Chihuahua.
Okay.
That's the Chihuahua's approach.
Okay, so that's one kind of day.
One kind of day. Second kind of day is what I'd call the doctor's in his office. Every hour on the hour, I have a meeting. One-on-one, group review, just boom, 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 boom. And those are energizing but a little exhausting, usually. Yeah. And then the third kind of day is what I'd call days when I can really think, write, and research, where I might have one meeting or two meetings in the day, but most of the time is mine to dig into things, mine to call people I'm interested in talking to, and really get a chance to put together a view of what we should be doing.
How much email do you get in a day?
I used to get a lot. Now I get maybe 60, 70 pieces of email a day, much less than I used to.
How can that be? How can you only get 60 pieces of email a day?
I don't know.
How many virtual assistants do you have filtering your email?
0.
You're telling me if somebody just wrote, what's your email address, whatever?
I'm Steve B at Microsoft.com.
Okay. So now we have, 2,000 of our closest friends.
And the guys at the end of the video link, video link.
So you're telling me tomorrow you're only going to have 60 emails?
Not tomorrow. But on average, no, what'll happen? Why do people get a lot of mail? They get a lot of mail because they sign up to get a lot of mail, because they get spammed by a lot of mail. But people don't waste other people's times generally.
Who said?
I've not found that. People who send me email, I'll probably get, as a result of this, 10 or 15 pieces of email. And most of them will be thoughtful suggestions, improvements, things we should be doing differently. I have actually not found that human beings are abusive. Distribution lists are abusive. Spam is abusive. I find human beings are actually usually very constructive with the email that they send.
So just to make sure I got this right, you have no secretary, virtual assistant, admin screening your mail, making
Not for
sure
my email, no.
Not at all. To Steve B at... Wow. You are a better man than me. Wow.
I had it on CNN one time, and I got, the first couple days after you do something like this, I'm not going to be dealing with 60 tomorrow, I'm pretty sure.
And do you really answer them yourself? I mean,
Yes. Either I answer them, or I decide who should answer them, and I forward them to somebody who answers them.
Well, I can imagine that, if I were a Microsoft employee and you forwarded me an email, I would probably take care of it, right?
I always hope so. It is career limiting to not take care of those kinds of emails.
Can you describe, where Bill is at? I mean, he's announced, certain changes and all that. Where is his mind, or what's he... and also I'd like to know, what is Microsoft post Bill?
Yeah. Now, Bill will transition end of June out of full-time work. We don't know exactly what that means, being part-time, but he and and Ray Ozzie were all excited to have a chance to figure it out. He, as he likes to describe, he's fortunate. He's had something unbelievable to build, to contribute to love professionally. And he's got a second thing, which is unbelievable. Most people are lucky to get one such thing. Through this foundation, Bill has something else he's really passionate about. He's going to be full-time at the foundation. He'll stay our chairman and work on some special projects on a part-time basis after some time off, well-deserved time off this summer. So, that's kind of what happens to Bill. The company obviously has evolved in many ways that I don't think is generally appreciated anyway. I mean, it's not, despite popular opinion, most of the great innovations at Microsoft don't come from Bill. They come from people in the company. Things like the work that Scott showed you on Silverlight and a variety of other things. There's a lot of great, talented people doing amazing things. And so despite the fact Bill is as smart and bright and talented a guy as we've ever seen, as I've ever met, at least in my life, we have such amazing people who will continue to propel the place. And in some senses, the notion of having one all-knowing, all-seeing, we need a different kind of way to get harmony and synergy and the whole to be bigger than the sum of the parts. And that'll be through the combined work of, perhaps 5 or 6 key leaders in addition to Ray Ozzie, Craig Mundy, and myself.
And how do you find recruiting particularly young employees to a Microsoft? I mean, before, you go to work for an Apple or a Microsoft because the stock is at 20 and you think it's going to go to 200. But, everybody's at 200 or has been at 200 and it's 20, 25-year-old company. They could go to Google, but even Google's, huge valuation. So I guess you could go to private Facebook. But what's the marketing pitch now to a young person to work with Microsoft?
Ironically, the marketing pitch today is not all that different from the marketing pitch 25 years ago. We try to recruit, at least on the technical side, I'll focus on the technical side. We're recruiting kind of the best and the brightest, the hardest core technical people who really want to work on things that can change the world. That's what we did 25 years ago. That's what we do today. Now, the truth is, people made a bunch of money but almost always people thought they wouldn't. I was talking to somebody who just recently retired from Microsoft, came in 1990 and reminded me that when he joined in 1990, people said the stock's never going to go up again.
Right.
So it hasn't really been the sort of the notion that says there's a get-rich-quick scheme out there that has ever been a primary source of recruiting value. Because you really only have that for a short period of time, from when you're private and hot to when you go public. I mean, Google with a $400, $500, $600, $700 stock price, it doesn't have any kind of double or triple, let alone a factor of 10 in front of it. We don't have any factor of 10. You got to go to sort of a private company that's going to succeed. And of course, as we all know, most startups don't succeed. Most do fail.
Right. Believe me, I know.
That wasn't really a shot. There you go.
It's like, you're the host. So I have an observation for you. We were discussing our families back there, and I have 4 children. The two oldest are 12 and 14. And as an aside to this aside, when Halo 3 introduced, we went to the rollout party, introductory party at the Mountain View campus. And I want you to know that there was a tournament there, and my sons won the tournament. So,
if your wife is like my wife, I'm not sure she's happy, but I'd say, way to go, boys.
I was going to say, my wife was very pissed off about that. So, believe me, it's not on his high school application, if you know what I mean. So anyway, I'm going to drive to a point here. So, my kids are 12 and 14. They don't know about the OS wars. They don't know about antitrust. They don't know about all this kind of stuff. They think Microsoft is this cool company that makes Xboxes and Halo. And it's so different of a perspective. They have no history in OSs and productivity software. And it just seems to me that I don't think enough people know, especially if you're going to go after the young people, these 14-year-olds, they should understand that Microsoft makes such cool stuff as Xbox and Halo, and I don't think they do. I think there's a marketing opportunity for you there.
Well, look, at the end of the day, the opportunity is really always the same for every company, which is to keep making great products. Keep making great products. And I'll bet your kids use our products, our productivity products. My guess would be for homework, a little bit of Word, a little bit of PowerPoint, maybe even a little bit of Excel gets used, even in a Mac house. Well, at least the way it works at our kids' school, when it comes time to learn about interest rates, there's a lot of use of Excel and certain geometric things. So kids, I think today grow up, they learn about they don't learn about the OS wars, but kids grow up today, as you know, using PCs, using productivity tools, using communications tools, having fun with games, and we have to continue to drive forward with exciting new products. What you did 10 and 15, 20 years ago was good 10 and 15 and 20 years ago. But, come on, 13, 14, 15-year-old, what have you done for me lately?
So how does Guitar Hero and Halo 3 and Xbox fit in this, worldview of Microsoft? I mean, how do you...
Well, there's no question that for the 17 million people who own Xbox 360s, for the roughly 11 million Xbox Live subscribers, I mean, these are things that people have they're products that people generate a lot of passion for, and that's certainly good for Microsoft. Now, continuing to reach more and more people. You stop and think about it, we've got about 25 million total Xbox users in the world. And we've got about 1 billion Windows users. So we got to make sure all our users are fired up and excited and like our work.
Well, I think Xbox 360 and Halo I love the technology. I love the interface. And I especially love, how many live subscribers did you say you had? 10?
About between 10 and 11 million.
So 10 or 11 million people are paying you $10 a month? Is it?
No, not everybody has to subscribe. But we have users, because we have the entry level where you don't actually have to pay a monthly fee. And then we've got, but a significant percentage choose to.
Well, that's a lovely business, isn't it? I mean,
it's a very nice business. I'm very excited about that business.
Let's jump back a little bit. tell the audience, I mean, they've heard it from Ray and all that, but tell the audience about Silverlight, what the big plan is, what the long-term goal, what you're trying to do with it. Give them an update. This is a time for them to hear from the head of Microsoft about Silverlight.
Yeah, let me give this kind of perspective. I think as the PC, the internet, variety of things have grown up, what we have found is that in some senses, we force people who develop applications, who design applications, design user interface. There's kind of been this big fork in the road. Either I do something that is broadly available and easy to deploy through the browser, or I do something that is a rich application with rich interaction, rich presentation, rich local processing, perhaps rich local storage. Over time, what we're really trying to do is bring those two things together. So you see us interject .NET and the presentation and media capabilities of Silverlight. You see what we're doing with the Windows Presentation Foundation. What we're trying to do is make sure there's no compromises, that you can get the best of the internet and the best of the rich PC all in kind of one easy form, at least as an application developer designer. Mm-hmm. And that's at the heart and soul of what we're trying to do with .NET Silverlight, .NET Windows Presentation Foundation, etc.
How can you give us some numbers? I mean, how is it being received and what?
Yeah, I would say, we launched Silverlight a year ago at the Mix Show. We shipped during the course of that last year, and today I think we have about 1.5 million, something like that, downloads a day, which is good, and yet we still see a lot of opportunity to really fan out and broaden the number of desktops on which we see Silverlight. We certainly already have Windows Presentation Foundation on a very, very high number of desktops, since that gets regularly updated as part of our Windows Update program for Windows customers.
Okay. Another not so softball. Like, what's the deal with Vista? What? Seriously,
Seriously.
Yeah, seriously. Shall I say, I read a very funny blog.
Vista, the second most popular operating system in history,
the one that you get no choice to getting, yeah.
Let me see that thing. You got Vista on that thing?
No, why would I do that?
Yeah, see, you have a choice.
But wouldn't you like
You're
to...
one of the few that made the wrong choice.
Wait a minute. Wouldn't you
dude.
like to use a computer like this? You can just take out of a little envelope and...
This is heavier than my PC. It's true. That thing is heavier than the Toshiba I carry.
But this is more powerful than the Toshiba.
No, that thing is missing half the features of the PC. Where's your DVD drive? Let me look for that. I have a bake-off with my Tosh versus that thing backstage.
Yeah, but DVDs are passé.
Tell that to your kids on a long flight, pal.
I can't help it if you don't sell any movies. What do you want from my life? Where were we? You just kind of threw me here, I thought I was...
It's a two-way street.
I thought I was controlling this.
You are.
I'm never going to invite you back to Mix. So what if somebody says, Steve, Microsoft has lost its focus. Before it was OSs, and then all right, so you got into apps, and now you have Xboxes and Live and phones and all this. How can you possibly do all this stuff well? What do you say to that person? Besides, up yours.
I'd say a couple things. Number one, in this industry, I actually think the great companies either move forward or they become less relevant. Mm-hmm. I actually don't really think there's an option called do one thing, do the same thing for 100 years, never broaden your footprint. Software is this funny thing. Everybody here knows it actually never wears out. You have to constantly be moving forward, pushing.
Okay.
The thing we've done, which a lot of companies in our industry don't, is I would say we've already built two different skill sets, a desktop skill set and an enterprise skill set. And now the question is, are we going to build two new? Because we're trying. a strong kind of consumer devices skill set and an online skill set. Most companies only really build one skill set, even if they have multiple products. Now, I told you I think Apple does some pretty good work, but Apple's skill set is really in devices, kind of consumer devices. They don't do much of the rest of the stuff. They're not really in the enterprise. They've punted, which is okay, on online, okay by me, but that's a particular perspective. And you know,
Apple might say you punted on OSs, but that's okay.
They'd be wrong. Every day, statistically, they'd be wrong. But at the end of the day, and the last time I checked, there were still a lot of people in a lot of governments who think we got a very high market share. But anyway.
Especially in the EU.
No comment. No, so at the end of the day, is that actually a weakness or a strength? I think it's a strength. We've built two different capabilities. Most guys only build one. Will we build the third and the fourth? We'll see. And we have to push ourselves every day because in this business, again, if you don't continuously improve what you're doing, you do become less relevant. And you do get guys in Hawaiian shirts who'll tease you about anything that's not perfect. And that's fair.
Well, you notice we skipped the Vista question because of that great deflection, but anyway.
Let's go back. I want to take the Vista. Give me the Vista question again.
Tell us,
I like Vista.
What's the status of Vista? What's happening? I mean,
Vista's been very, very popular in the consumer world. I'm not saying that there aren't things that customers choose to comment on. Application no, come on. The number one issue we've had customers issues on are application compatibility and driver compatibility. We made a very concrete set of choices in order to enhance the security. Vista is a very secure system. We've had very little issue of that kind. I'd say it's the most secure client operating system out there. But we did make the choice to kind of hurt compatibility, and our customers have let us know that has been very painful. A couple of things have happened. A lot of the apps have now been upgraded to be compatible. The drivers have been upgraded. We've shipped our first Service Pack 1, which allows us to factor in a lot of the quality and other suggestions that people have made. And I think we'll start to see more uptake now in the business market, and Vista continues to sell quite strongly in the consumer market.
Okay. You know, I mean, in your house. I'm not gonna.
You're not a user, so we won't know what you think.
Nah, you know, honestly.
You want to tell me what somebody else thinks? Come on. We'll get rid of this. We'll get your real machine, and then you can email me your feedback.
You mean one with Ethernet built in? Yeah.
For example.
Yeah. What a concept, huh? So let's talk about Firefox and IE. What's happening there?
Well, I would say, Firefox has certainly built presence and position over the course of the last couple of years. You see us now really investing as heavily as we ever had in the browser, which is very important to us. We still have the lion's share of all users use IE, but we're investing IE7. We talked a little bit about IE8. There's a lot more of the IE8 story still to be told as we really start commenting about end user features in addition to developer features. We've got a great team driving hard. I think you should expect to see a lot of browser innovation from us. And certainly we feel like, browser innovation is core for us, and the ultimate measure of that is how well we do versus Firefox and Safari and the other browsers out there.
How about some IE Macintosh development? I mean, that's an oxymoron right now, right? I mean,
how do I say this in the right way? Of all of the key innovations to be driven, porting to that lower volume machine is not the top on our list. No, I'm giving you a hard time. A lot of folks in this room I know we use Macs for various things, but I think at this stage in the game, we feel like it's smarter for us to apply our innovation energy to doing new things as opposed to bringing yet another browser to the Mac.
Okay. Let's go back a little bit to social networking. So can you what's the Microsoft perspective on social networking? Is it a fad? What is it? I mean,
the notion that people are going to use the internet more and more richly and more deeply to stay in touch with their friends, to make new friends. That's not a fad.
Yeah.
There's no question that's not a fad. I mean, the fundamental nature of how people socialize is changed forever. And whether that expresses itself in things like MySpace and Facebook, or Xbox Live, which is a different kind of social network, if you will, or through instant messaging and email and video conferencing and everything that comes. There's no question the notion of the internet, of social networking, is not a fad. Now, whether any one company and any one business model and any one modality has it right forever, I think you got to keep investing. Obviously, Zuckerberg and Facebook, they've done a great job. If they keep pushing, they're going to continue to have users active and interested and with them. Same thing with the guys at Fox, with MySpace, et cetera.
Don't you have tens of millions of people who are, very close to social networking with Microsoft already, MSN and those kind of things? Or can't you just take that to the
Actually, hundreds of millions of people using our MSN Instant Messenger, Office Communicator software, et cetera.
Is there any thought of, sort of opening up the APIs so that you could have MSN apps and repeat the Facebook app phenomenon?
Well, most of the things that we do have open interfaces to them. So, for example, with our SharePoint technology, with what we've done with Active Directory, we, for business customers, have that kind of open platform. Getting the business model, the openness, all to work and to make sense, we're continually evaluating where we are and pushing forward. We have some extensibility that I think makes a lot of sense, and certainly a lot of guys have written applications on top of the MSN Windows Live Messenger.
Now, I'm going to be very honest and kind to you for a second. I will tell you that for the past few years, I've been working with Microsoft a lot, probably unbeknownst to you. And I will tell you that it's a different Microsoft today. There's not the arrogance, there's not the sort of bullying aspect. These people are really smart, they're really hardworking, they answer email faster than other companies, shall I say. And I just want to give you a little bit of a praise here that the new Microsoft employee is very different. It's really very easy to work with your company.
Well, thanks.
It's really
appreciate that.
true.
That's kind.
I don't have any reason to bullshit you. I will tell you another thing.
But if I get 150 to 1,000 emails from this group tomorrow, don't expect an answer by the end of the day.
I will tell you, Dan O'Lewin and his crew down in Mountain View, I think they've done wonders for your image in Silicon Valley. And just having that facility, and basically anybody can rent that facility and use it. So now, whereas Microsoft was this evil empire up in Washington, now it's in Mountain View and you use their facilities and it's got great food, cheap, fast, great AV. It's a really nice facility. I just hope you have more of those facilities around because I really think that just letting people use a Microsoft facility and, seeing Microsoft employees touching them, it's done wonders for you in Silicon Valley. Just,
We won't do the touch thing right now.
We have about 20 more minutes, and I think I'm sure we have lots of questions in the audience. I'd like to open up for questions from the audience, too, because, it's only fair. Yeah, so somebody wants you to talk about Adobe, so, here's your chance.
What about Adobe, to repeat the question with a little different body English? Obviously, Adobe is a big competitor of ours. I'm not sure if that was the context of the particular question. In a sense, they're a big competitor of ours, and certainly Silverlight and what we're trying to do with Silverlight and .NET and what they're trying to do with Flex and Flash. We're going to try to give you exciting choices. We're going to try to encourage you in ways that make sense to pick the Microsoft alternative. And at the same time, we know that Adobe's going to remain a very important company in this industry for a long time, and we're going to make sure that we support Adobe very well as an ISV and in many other regards. We appreciate the fact that Adobe has pioneered some important standards like PDF. We have very good support, for example, now for our Office applications to save documents in PDF format. And we're going to continue to drive both interoperability where it makes sense with Adobe as well as competing with Adobe.
That was a PR answer if I ever heard one. Okay, so we have all these like dressed up people, so we'll ask the T-shirt to go first here.
Hello. Hey. So .NET, a few years ago, .NET came out and gave us these pretty good tools to develop applications and sites, and we got on this path, and the tools got better and better, and .NET 2 and 3.5 are wicked. I'm just curious, how did Internet Explorer, because it's obviously it's an internet web development thing, how did Internet Explorer get kind of left out of that development path and sort of, do you know what I mean?
Oh, yes, I do. I think we made a set of decisions for a variety of reasons historically that I won't go back through on what we were really trying to accomplish with the version of Windows now known as Vista, but then known as Longhorn, the version after Windows XP. And we got a whole lot of our innovation all coordinated and tied to the release of the next operating system after Windows XP. The browser was one of those technologies. .NET was not. .NET had a separate path, a separate ship stream. Obviously, we can ship browsers separate from the operating system, but we really were thinking through that next generation design. There's a whole bunch of things that I think we have, let me just say, learned from that we did during that design process. It's important to integrate things, but it's probably important to incubate new technologies before you integrate them together. Because we had the long gap, we had, particularly in the browser, that was a painfully long gap between releases of browser innovation. You won't see those kinds of gaps on Windows. And I think we now understand how we get things enough decoupled to incubate new innovations in the browser separate from the operating system and then roll them back into the operating system. So, some mistakes, some good learning, and certainly we're now having to really hustle as hard as we've had to hustle in the marketplace to really drive browser innovation.
Okay, here.
Yeah, Tim Anderson, ITwriting.com. If Microsoft takes over Yahoo, what are you going to do with all those PHP applications, especially the ones that overlap with what Microsoft already has running on ASP.NET? Will they be converted, or do you have other plans for that?
Well, there's really sort of two different questions. In a number of areas, and I won't go through specifics, but we will have to make some kind of final integration plans after presumably we reach a deal, and it would be appropriate to talk to the Yahoo guys. We shouldn't have two of everything. It won't make sense to have two search services, two advertising services, two mail services, and we'll have to sort some of that through. Some of that technology undoubtedly will come from the Microsoft side. Some will undoubtedly come from the Yahoo side. Whatever technology comes, it also comes with an infrastructure that runs it. So I'm quite sure that when all's said and done, you asked, what are you going to do with those PHP applications? I'm sure a bunch of them will be running at high scale and in production for a long time to come. I think there's going to be a lot of innovation in the core infrastructure beyond what we have in Windows today and ASP.NET, beyond what you see in Linux and PHP today. And over time, probably most of the big applications on the internet will wind up being rebuilt and redone, whether those are ours or Yahoo's or any of the other competitors. But for the foreseeable future, we will be a PHP shop, I guess, if we own Yahoo, as well as being an ASP.NET shop. One of the interesting things that I really love that we've done in the new Windows Server is we put a lot of attention in making sure PHP applications run well on Windows Server. That's not the current Yahoo environment, and I'm not suggesting that we would transition that way. But for those of you who do have PHP skills, we're going to try to make Windows Server the best place to land PHP applications in the future as well.
All right, thank you. We're here?
Yes. What do you see as the major synergies between Microsoft and Yahoo? And what kind of adaptations do you think might have to be made to get it through the antitrust process?
Yeah, I think I'll pass on the second question. Otherwise, Guy will say I'm giving a PR answer, so I'll just pass and save us all the pain.
Save the time,
In terms of synergy, look, the number one, people have to understand that scale, which is a form of synergy, is really an advantage in the search game. The more searches you have, the more advertisers you have. The more advertisers you have, the more bidding you get on keywords. The more revenue you make, the more you have to reinvest. But also, the more advertisers you have, the larger the corpus of relevant ads you have to insert on pages. In the case of search, ads are part of the content. And right now, Google has a larger body of ads to insert on any keyword than either we or Yahoo have. Yes. And so getting that scale is perhaps the most obvious of synergies. In addition, I think they've got a bunch of very talented engineers, and so do we. We should be able to have 1 + 1 be at least 2.5 in terms of not duplicating things that shouldn't be duplicated and moving out and doing additional innovative work.
Okay, over here.
Hi, Charles Fazell from Round Arch. A lot of people are focusing on the whole Yahoo acquisition. I got to congratulate you on making the acquisition of Fast Search. That is an absolutely brilliant move. Having just got back from their corporate headquarters in Oslo, I was looking at how rich internet applications can actually be empowered and empower the user experience by this whole notion of queryless search. So I was just wondering if we could maybe step away from Yahoo for a moment and chat about Fast Search and how you see that shaping, because it is one of the largest acquisitions in your company's history. So I was wondering if you could chat about that most recent search.
Yeah, I'm very excited about the acquisition that we are in process. We're in regulatory review. Fast is a company that used to have both an internet search product as well as a website and corporate search product. They sold off their web search a number of years ago, actually, to Yahoo, and really focused in on two things: providing great search technology for very high-end searches against enterprise data, and number two, providing search engines that can power websites, which seems to be the context in which you know them the best. Their technology is fantastic, the team is great, and we're very anxious in both working with folks building websites for the public-facing internet, as well as people building better and better search technologies in corporations. And we love the company, we love the people, we've got a great integration plan. As soon as we get through regulatory review, we'll have a lot more to say.
All right, let's go back over here.
Hi, I've got a question regarding your upcoming virtualization platform. And will you create a licensing scheme to compete with something like Amazon Elastic Computing Cloud and like true elastic computing, where if I need 100 Windows servers for an hour, I can actually do it very easily?
There are two concepts. Let me just tease them apart and then say yes to both. With the announcement we've made of Hyper-V and our Windows Server technology, we actually have the components so that anybody who wants to can actually set up a web farm or a set of servers that are virtualized and run applications. That's not the service element that you described, but that's the technology that we announced and are putting in the market over the next few months. Number two, will we offer that capability of essentially compute and storage in the cloud? I think Ray all but said that we would yesterday. I'm not sure I'll give any more details today, but you should look forward as we have things to say. We'll certainly say them, but it's an area of great interest for us.
Thank you. Benjamin Romano, Seattle Times, with apologies to this audience. I wondered if you could tell us what you'd like to see happen with the Seattle Sonics and what you're prepared to do to make it happen.
No. With respect to you and the Seattle Times, I'm not talking about that today.
Okay. That's a PR answer. Yeah.
Hi. Eric Barnard with CT Magazine from Germany. Now that Silverlight has gone mobile, I was wondering if there's a Silverlight for the iPhone in the cards. I think Apple had an interesting announcement today that you may or not be aware of. And also, I would like to learn a little more what your plans are with the Danger acquisition.
Yeah, Silverlight for iPhone is, of course, interesting. We want to get Silverlight everywhere. Now, I can't say there's been some extensive discussion with Guy's old boss on this topic. And I noticed they just announced a new runtime today, yesterday, and it sure seems they're trying to charge a whole lot more money for it than anybody else on the face of the planet. I think they want 30% of every bit of revenue that you collect on their runtime. It's good business if you can make it. I'm not sure a lot of the software developers that I know are going to be very interested in that, but it may mean that Apple's not welcoming open royalty-free runtimes on its platform. We'll have to wait and see.
Danger?
Oh, Danger, yeah. The Danger acquisition is really about essentially building up an application and service asset on top of our Windows Mobile platform. Windows Mobile today is a horizontal operating system. We run on devices from over 50 manufacturers. I think there's 165 different hardware configurations in market. But on top of that, we see an opportunity to build unique applications with service components. Danger really is the part of a strategy to do consumer-oriented applications and services on top of Windows Mobile, just like some of the things that we've done with our enterprise software builds out the kind of the business and enterprise footprint for Windows Mobile.
So there's a stack going to be sitting on Windows Mobile?
Yeah, we will have Windows Mobile as sort of a core platform, and Danger is really a kind of service application experience. And we want to make sure we get that in market on a great set of phones hosted on Windows Mobile.
What kind of phone do you use, by the way?
Me? I'm always switching between Windows Mobile devices. I've used the Q, I've used the Blackjack, I've used the Dash from HTC. I'm switching now. I'm having a hard time as I get a little older. So I'm going back to a 10-key phone from a bigger keyboard so I can dial numbers, if you will, by braille instead of dialing them by looking. So I'm always rotating around looking at the latest phones.
Do you want to give everybody your phone number too?
No, I'll pass on that.
Thanks. I'm Rob Zelt, just a Silverlight developer. Very happy to see the innovation you guys are doing, but wondering when are we going to see it become the default for Microsoft properties and some of the innovation like AOL is doing with their mail. Is that something coming for Hotmail?
Yeah, you'll see us introduce Silverlight into a variety of our application experiences over the course of the next months and years in some cases. The truth of the matter is we have all of the same installed base issues that everybody else does, and it's only on a new release of one of the products that it makes sense to really go back and change the delivery platform. Some of our applications get delivered today on rich Windows applications, like the Live Messenger, for example. No real reason to move that to Silverlight. Some of the other experiences you'll see, over time, all of them should move to, all of the relevant ones will move to Silverlight.
Okay. We're going to let you speak, ask your question. You, second person? No, not you. You. Because we want a woman. We want to show that we're open and, so.
I love it. There's no bathroom line and I get to skip. Tina Chang from SysLogic. We are currently working with Amalga, so I would love to hear your vision for Amalga, Health Vault, and in general, Microsoft's play in the health solution space.
Yeah, we have, health's the only vertical that we've chosen to really dig in deeply. And primarily because A, it's the largest vertical in the world, and B, in some senses, I still think the healthcare industry is perhaps the least well served by IT. We've made a big investment in applications really focused in on healthcare providers, doctors, hospitals, et cetera. And I think we know what we're doing in that area very well. It's going to be a hard road to hoe. We'll see whether we can really make a difference. On the consumer health side, what we're really doing is, I'll call it experimentation. It's serious. We're in market. But We have to figure out as a society and as an industry, what is it really going to take to bootstrap consumer health? The notion of my personal medical record and how I collect it and manage it and how that serves me as a consumer. It's actually a fairly complicated thing to see that bootstrapped. How does your doctor give you information? Does your doctor do all of these little polar and personal health devices? Do they feed that sort of thing? And I think it's very important for us to be on the edge of trying to stimulate and make a difference, and that's what we're trying to do with Health Vault. But as our new ads say, we don't think we have anywhere close to all the ideas, and we're going to encourage a lot of third parties to innovate around Health Vault.
Okay, back here.
Hi. We all know that the format wars ended recently with Blu-ray being the winner. I wanted to know what were your thoughts on that, and do you have any plans to, with the Blu-ray technology, maybe with the Xbox and stuff like that?
Well, you know, we don't make drives. So in a sense, we thought there was a lot of merit to HD DVD. It was in the market sooner. It had certain cost advantages. We worked to provide an HD DVD peripheral for the Xbox 360. But at the end of the day, you know, as the industry moves forward, obviously we're going to support Blu-ray in ways that are important. I want to make sure there's the right support we've already been working on, for example, in Windows, device driver support for Blu-ray drives and the like. And I think the world moves on. Toshiba has moved on. We've moved on. And we'll support, you know, Blu-ray in ways that make sense. I mean, at the end of the day, one of the interesting things about that whole format war is, over time, will more HD content get delivered over a physical disc or over the internet? It's kind of the point Guy was making earlier about why it's okay that his machine doesn't have a DVD drive. Today, I think it is actually pretty important to have some kind of drive. 5 years from now may not make a bit of difference.
Yep.
Thanks.
Hey, Steve. We know how much you love developers, right? But I was going to ask if you could stand up and show some love for web developers.
You mean just sort of like an impromptu? You mean he said no monkey boy and you want it? You want some love right here, right now? You want me to stand up and do that on the mixed stage?
Right now, Steve.
I've been in PR mode the whole time, and you want to hear web developers, web developers, web developers! If your buddy behind you just gave you $1, I want 50 cents for it.
You're scaring me, Steve. All right.
You offered.
Hi, Steve. Michael Hickens from eWeek. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the potential that you see, or the adoption right now in the enterprise for social networking, and how you see that playing into Microsoft's future.
Yeah, just as it's happening on the consumer side, the ways in which people want to interact with each other inside corporations is also changing. We see more use of IM. Well, at one time, email was exotic for the corporation, but we see more use now of IM. We certainly are doing a lot of work around SharePoint, our collaboration product, and Active Directory. It turns out we know already a lot about people and how they relate to each other inside the enterprise. And the ability to sort of let that infrastructure help you find colleagues with shared interests, much the way social networking sites help you find friends, people with similar interests on the broad internet. That's a big area of investment for us. We've done a little bit in the version of SharePoint that's in the market today, and you'll see more of that in future releases of Office and SharePoint.
Do you see that being adopted heavily in the enterprise now, or is that still,
I'd say, in a sense, it's early stage. I'd say early stage today still.
Okay, over here.
Nikita, I'm a student and I'm also an MVP, and I'd like to thank you for providing us with DreamSpark, things as Channel 8, and Microsoft Student Partner Program. I'd like to really applaud you guys for helping us out. The question is, so now that we have the tools, what are you doing to help us out with possibly the infrastructure, maybe moving forward with what you're doing maybe with some grid computing or share some of the flex computing power so we could actually go and deploy those applications somewhere, because as students, we don't have the budgets to go and buy servers. We have the tools, we're ready, so can you help us out more? And what are the plans for continuing helping us out in education and moving into academia?
Well, there's certainly a lot of folks today who provide hosting services and would be happy to host, without forcing you to buy, would be happy to host your applications. If your question is similar to the one that the gentleman asked at the other mic, will we have some kind of service-based facility to which you can deploy applications to provide sort of general purpose computing and storage? I'll say, see the answer I gave earlier. Would it have student discounts? Who knows? We'll see.
Well, the question was, what else are you doing in academia? Because I go back now and talk to some of my peers on campus, and how do we take something as good as Mix, and if you see, how many students are here? Yeah. So how do we deliver this kind of content, rich internet applications? How do you share that with students and support that from the academia?
I know all of this is being streamed. It'll be available on whatever sessions mix, Microsoft.com. Look it up on live search. I'd love you to do that. There'll be many ways to find this event, and certainly students who can't afford to be here. Yeah, at the end of the day, this is not the world of conferences from 15 years ago or 10 years ago when guys like Guy and I got started out. The conference really mattered in the sense of the only way to get the content was to come to the conference. Today, the conference has a lot of community and relationship aspects that are unique, but all of the content will propagate and make available, including videos and everything else up on the web. Point your friends to it.
Okay.
Channel 8, we're doing it.
All right.
Steve, Todd Bishop from the Seattle Post-Intelligencer. To Guy's point earlier, Apple today announced that it's licensing ActiveSync to implement Exchange in the iPhone. Can you comment on that from both perspectives, the Exchange business and also the competitive implications for Windows Mobile?
Well, obviously, we made a strategic decision to do two things. Number one, we've licensed ActiveSync for a while, and that's been an option that's been available to Apple. And we also made clear whatever it was, last week or 2 weeks ago when we announced our interoperability principles, that we would have licensing packages for patented protocols that live between high-volume Microsoft products. So it was certainly an option that we knew Apple might take advantage of. Obviously, by policy, we've decided that that's kind of in our business interest. We'll be glad to see iPhone participate and be available and help make Exchange more valuable. And we're quite comfortable that we can do a great job in Windows Mobile in many ways, including email support. We can do a great job that'll help us differentiate and compete very well with the iPhone.
Okay, so we're getting instructions to take one last question, and we're going to take it from that woman over there. All the rest of you, you could Stephen B at Microsoft.com. But you get to ask the last question.
Thank you. My name is Tracy Arsenault with Avenue A Razorfish in Atlanta. And I just have a question. What are your plans for Avenue A Razorfish? We hear a lot of rumors, and just curious to see how we're going to interact.
Yeah. We bought Aquantive now about 6-9 months ago. And Aquantive was, in a sense, 3 businesses in one. It was a very sophisticated company in terms of software tools for helping to manage advertising. Fit very well with Microsoft and was one of the important assets. Number 2, there was a set of advertising networks so that people who want to sell ads could pool up ads, and we'd sell those as a group. The Drive PM platform was critical to us in the acquisition. The biggest piece, though, of Aquantive actually is Avenue A Razorfish, which is a great web development advertising agency. In a sense, you could say it doesn't fit per se with the rest of Microsoft because we generally try to support third parties in that regard. But there's been a lot of benefit to Aquantive to owning the agency. We run it very hands-off. That is, Avenue A Razorfish is free to use Silverlight, but also free to use competitive technologies. If Avenue A Razorfish is not an honest broker, it won't continue to acquire customers. And at the same time, we need to be able to continue to work with other web development houses, with other advertising agencies. So I think of it as owned by Microsoft, but pretty independent as long as it's continuing to make financial progress as it's done in the past.
All right. Well, I think our time is up. And, you know, Steve, I know that deep down inside, you really want to use an Air. So if you ever want a discount, I have friends, and I'm sure I could help you. But it's been fun, and I hope the audience enjoyed it. And we'll do this again sometime, okay?
Thank you all very much for coming to Mix. Thank you. Thanks, guys.